man.
Cool. So I went through.
Oh, that
did
looks
some
nice.
did some answering them. Did some soul searching in your questions.
Did you?
Well, struggled with a few of them. I tried my best. So we'll see how it goes.
That's what it's about. Getting out of the comfort zone.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, we're just chilling here. Two guys on the same journey, almost in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be good. Just to make sure I'm not rubbing my...
Have more layers than usual.
I know. It's true, man. Yours is perfect though there, man. Jerk.
It's all right. I'll call you out. Mike's rubbing, man.
Like, hey man, your
life
mic's rubbing. What the hell's going on over there? You're supposed to be a professional at this, dude.
Right.
Come on.
That's right.
All right, man. So we are here, my friend.
We are here.
You know, this is interesting because I haven't done a podcast in a while.
Oh.
This is the first one that I've done in a good bit, you know. Just so much has been going on.
I was gonna say, what's going on with that?
Been happening, so I just took a break.
Okay.
Took a little bit of a detour. I needed to get some things in line, get some things in order. So this is a very special podcast today.
Well,
very
I'm
special
honored.
episode, man. The honor is mine, my friend.
Not at all.
And to do it out here, oh
A
man,
beautiful night.
this is my jam.
Yeah.
So this is good. I'm glad that that we chose to do this out here, outside, and
Yeah,
beautiful Naples. You got the gorgeous trees. It's like you're just outside, and just there's something about it, you know, when you're outside. So I appreciate you being on board and being up for talking. And
Yeah, man. Anytime.
yeah, man. And we're gonna dive in and talk about you.
Ooh.
Talk about stuff that you've been doing. So a little background on the whole how I met Tom. So I started working with Naples Vitality, and that's where I met Tom. And Tom he'll dive into more about himself and everything, but this guy is doing a lot of things. And when we started talking and understanding a little bit more about what he's doing, this really my brain started firing a lot of different things that we can do together, and I knew I had to have him on the show because what he's doing and his values and what he stands for is very, very similar to what it is with Live to Progress. And I apologize to sirens. We're in the middle of the woods, so I don't know where these ambulances. Some bear,
mockingbird.
someone got attacked by a bear or something like that. But so you have your own podcast.
Yep.
It is Talk Health. It is, the thing I love about it is that your quote is real people, real change.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And you also have your private Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
which is also another beautiful thing, the Talk Health community.
Right.
So all those things we're going to touch into, but I just want to give everybody a little overview about what Tom as a person, you know, he's a dad, he's got 2 kids.
You got to meet those maniacs.
I got to meet the little rugrats, and I love his dog. He's got an amazing dog, Gandalf.
Yes. We'll get him out here at some point.
So it's awesome. So a lot of, you know, and he loves camping. He loves hiking with the family. So a lot of good values that I think we need much more of. And so before we get into all that, let's take a step back and let's talk about you. Give me a little bit of insight about your background, kind of like where you started, how you got to where you are now with your functional practitioner and all that.
Yeah. So it's a long journey there, huh? Because in undergrad, right, going in without, I think, retrospectively thinking back there, I didn't really know why, but I chose pre-med. From high school, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be pre-med. In the sort of cliche stuff, I want to help people, I want to be able to give back, and that sort of thing. So I did that track. But that was, college is crazy. It's a lot of stuff. I was, in a band for the last, 2 to 3 years of my college career, and that comes with a lot of, band stuff, a lot of drinking and smoking and not eating a lot of good, healthy foods. And so this is, I'm learning all this stuff about biology and physiology and all that, but not really connecting the dots.
Sure.
Right? And so as far as that goes, I get the undergrad, I'm living my life, not the healthiest, right? Not the healthiest choices. But, I think what finally clicked on this journey here, or at least led me to becoming a physician assistant, which was ultimately the next step after that, was traveling, abroad, and just experiencing other cultures, trying to give back, but also receiving much more than you ever could on trips like that. You always, do what you can, but it's just the impact on you is so much more. So coming back from that and processing all of it and really wanting to more or less expedite the process of getting out into the world to help people, right? So what that looked like for me at that stage was, okay, I was on the pre-med journey. I was going to go to med school and do all this or that, whatever. But then I started thinking, is it the doctor? Like, do I really want to be a doctor? Or is that just something that I put on myself from an early time? If I do that, I'm going to go to 4 years medical school. And then after that, I'm going to do anywhere from a 6 to longer year residency of one kind or another. And then I'll be able to, have more or less a career. At least that was my mindset back then. And maybe I didn't have a good understanding of it. But when I came back from that trip abroad, and it was to the Dominican Republic, it was a fantastic trip, a beautiful culture. I love it. Beautiful,
I'm glad that we
beautiful
didn't disappoint
island.
you.
It's a beautiful island. They've got it all. They've got the beaches, the rainforests, the deserts, and the most loving people too. It's just amazing. But really, when I came back there, I decided, nope, I've got to do this faster. It's med school. It's not really resonating. Took some sort of test, and I don't know what those are called, aptitude tests or something, where they tell you should be this, right? One of those things.
Yeah.
And a physician assistant came up, and I had no idea what that was. I was like, oh, okay, well let's look into that. So I did that and went through the PA school and all that, and it's based on the medical model. So it's been described as like med school in like 2.5 years essentially. So you have your books for the year, and and then you go out in the clinic for the next 1.5 years, and then they kick you out and you get to go live your life. And so I did that. And throughout the time, little things started clicking as far as this health journey goes. Whereas, okay, the majority of school is I'm learning what medication to prescribe. Right? Which is certainly appropriate, right? Yeah. I mean, in scenarios, especially emergency scenarios and acute situations, you have to know. You have to know all the ins and outs of that because that's how medicine is, today. But something wasn't resonating. It was like, okay, we do this, we go out, whatever. And I get a job. My wife, we got married while I was in PA school. A week after we got married, she gets a job in Colorado. And at this point, I'm traveling all over the state doing my little, we call them rotations, right? Emergency room here and surgery here and whatever. So I'm not home much anyways. So we get married, she goes to Colorado and moves there. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna go to Colorado too.
Yeah.
So I go, I look for a place, I finish up my rotation there, and I finally get a job. Community health center, exactly the place that I would want to work, because it's the population of people that I want to give back to, essentially, not really give back, but really work with, right?
Right.
And it worked out. And I spent 7 years there. But throughout those 7 years, that's where the biggest transformation came. Because I was still running into that pill for an ill model early on. Realizing that wasn't these people are still coming in every 3 to 6 months. Same problems, and I just have to give more pills, right? And I have to give a pill for a pill
Right.
because they come with side effects, right?
Right.
And sooner or later, you're looking at medication lists that are 30 medications long. Regardless, that's just one of those things that eats was eating at me for a while.
Right.
And so my mother-in-law, actually, she was the one who finally was poking me and pushing something at me like, hey, just, watch this YouTube video or listen to this podcast. And I was like, yeah, totally. And you can always find other things to do. You're like, no, I can't do it right now. I've got to go do this. When I finally listened to what she was sharing with me, it was just like what?
Yeah.
It was finally my eyes were open. There was a different way, right? It didn't have to be, a pill for a no.
Yeah.
You can actually get down to the why. Why is this problem happening in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that just opened the floodgates because you can't unlearn that, right? You can't unlearn this kind of thing.
Yep.
And so even very early on, starting to talk to patients and really these people that want a different way, they're asking, what else can I do? Having the tools to show them, okay, well, let's try a little bit of this and just a little bit of this. Don't go crazy, do what you can, make some steps.
Right.
And seeing the results just fueled that fire. And eventually led to the functional medicine stuff and going to conferences and getting the certification and all that. And yeah, which ultimately led me here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's been a long journey.
What a journey. I can
journey.
imagine, because you must have had struggles along that path, kind of pulling you in two different directions, right?
I mean, absolutely, because we're still, at least at that point, I was still in that conventional model.
Right.
And so we're seeing patients within, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And so trying to talk, lifestyle modifications in that amount of time while also managing 3 different chronic diseases, it's just not going to happen.
There's no way.
And so I was fortunate enough where I worked, it's a big family, community health center, a lot of branches, but we were kind of the rebel clinic that got to try things out, right? We had a good combination of staff and people there. The nurse, phenomenal, and a good friend of mine. And so we were able to try ideas, and so I started playing around with group visits. And okay, well, we can do this, not only see more people, but I end up saying the same thing over and over to the same people time and time again, right? So let's get people together. Let's talk about it. And not only does that help more people, but it also helps the providers and staff because we're able to see more people in a shorter period of time, right? So it's kind of a win-win on that aspect. And then that grew to cooking classes, which people loved. And so bringing in
Absolutely.
things like the air fryer and the crock pot and just throwing, awesome recipes with, take-home stuff and manuals and just developing curriculums like that in that sort of space in a community health center was awesome. And then COVID hit and group visits were no longer a thing.
Mm-hmm. So how did you cope with that then?
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard because after that, because that was shifting the whole, every 10 minutes got to see somebody, got to keep up with the numbers, because that's how, unfortunately, those clinics are funded, right now. So without that, without being able to do the group visits, it was just day in and day out of back to back to back to back, having to say what you would say in a half-hour class or visit in 5 minutes, but not being able to.
Right.
And having to do medication and order labs and interpret imaging and all the things.
Yeah.
And so it burns you out.
Absolutely. And we talked a little bit about burnout and all that, and how it's different. Burnout is still burnout, but it could look so different for all these different situations.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine how more like even negative thoughts started brewing and kind of coming up more and more and more. So can you tell us a little bit about how you dealt with those thoughts, and like what did you do to kind of help you cope with them?
It's hard, man. This was one of those things that I struggled with. Like, it would come in waves, like at least once a year, even. Like, I'm not making a difference. What am I doing?
Right.
Right? This is not helping anyone.
Yep.
And, talking to people, people that are in that same situation. Like I said, my friend Tracy, one of the nurses, who's phenomenal. It's just, it's hard. It pushes you, once you get out of that funk, right, to find ways.
Right.
This is not working. What can I do within the constraints of what I'm working with?
Yeah.
But it's hard, and sometimes the bureaucracy of wherever you are may not even allow that, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be super creative about going about it. But that's where, dealing with those negative thoughts, going for walks during lunchtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's reading a book to just compartmentalize, just like separate yourself for a minute so you can get some breaths. Taking those deep breaths, I would go the whole day, like, oh my gosh, I've been breathing, like shallow breathing all day, and finally just
taking a deep breath.
Oh, that's what that feels like.
Yep.
But it's overwhelming.
It absolutely is, and that's where it's so important where we have to listen to those thoughts. And I used to say that a lot, and we would just don't let them go. Kind of don't either like demonize them or don't just bottle them up. You're having those issues, those thoughts. Okay, fine. Welcome them in, deal with it, see why it's happening, and then move on. Just don't stay in that spot.
Right.
Because that is even worse, because then it's so easy to stay there. So easy to stay there.
I see so many people staying there.
And then it gets to a point where they don't even know how to move past it.
Right.
I mean, I've talked about this for a long time, and even me, I mean, that's why I was saying I couldn't even do a podcast, because I was in that rut, and as much as I wanted to, I knew it wouldn't be the right thing to do because I wasn't in the right headspace. And had I done it, then I don't even know how I would have come out or come through. I may have to even have cut through the middle of the of the recording. But it's all about that. It's all about listening to what our body's telling us and getting the help we need.
Right.
People like you that are really trying to make a difference. And that leads me to my other question: is that when you started then wanting to create your own way, your own path?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started way back then, experimenting with the group visits, right? Trying to see what resonated with people. What were people actually wanting? Like, the people that wanted the help, was the things that I was trying, were they working? And if not, how do we shift this? And so kind of getting in that mindset of just providing value, and meeting people where they're at. It started back then, and then I think same as you were just saying, finding the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And that imposter syndrome is where I live, man. Who am I?
My goodness.
Who am I to do this? A podcast. Who am I to try and, nurture a community of people, in their efforts to change? Who am I to do this? But I was reading a book a while back. Maybe it was I don't know, they all blend together. Such a high intake of that stuff. But it was something that said, maybe it was Sanchin Patel, I don't know. But who am I not to do that?
Yep.
Right? Who are we not to provide? We have information that could possibly help. It may not help everybody. It won't help everybody for sure. But if it can help somebody, who are we not to do that?
Yeah.
And that's what I keep having to push myself towards, because I keep getting stuck in that. I'm not an expert. Who am I? I don't know everything about everything. But I know enough, I think, to just be there and that's sometimes all it is just be there.
Yep, absolutely. Sometimes all we need to do is just listen.
Exactly. Exactly.
And really, that really is all that we are as guides. We're just trying to help people go the right path. And then the beauty of it is that you do have so much knowledge that you could address other issues and concerns that they didn't get the time to get answered with their previous either health practitioner just because they didn't have the time to. Where now you can do it because you've created a platform for these people to be able to come together and have a community, have all that camaraderie that they never even knew existed.
Right.
So, you taking that leap and getting out of your comfort zone, you're not just helping yourself grow, but you're helping so many people that would never be able to get that type of information otherwise.
Well, and that's exactly it. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Is once people walk out of that 10-minute office visit, they're on their own.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so having a space, whether or not it's a Facebook group or a podcast or a YouTube video or whatever to go to listen to people, and in my case, trying to provide, stories from people that are going through similar, things as you, right? Hearing a peer, go through something, a challenge, and being able to come out the other end. Or maybe they're not even out the other end yet. Maybe they're still struggling, but this is what they're doing that's pushing them closer to their goal.
Yeah.
Providing that, and I think that's the biggest thing. You go out, go to your doctor, you do your thing, you come out, you have somewhere to go.
Absolutely.
Right? Community, podcasts, YouTubes, whatever it might be.
Yeah. You're actually, like we said earlier, you're bridging that gap.
Hopefully.
That people, they need it. They just do. So this is insanely helpful. So now that you kind of touched into it, tell us, what is your podcast? What is it about?
Yeah, so Talk Health. So the idea, I really struggled again, trying to grapple that imposter syndrome, but finally when I broke through that, the end goal was, like we just said, provide information through stories of peers so that we can spread awareness and provide tools to people trying to change. And so that's what it's about. It's listening to real people going through real change and how they're doing that.
Right.
Because that's the hardest part. It's making the decision to change and then implementing that change, right?
Right.
So I hope that this, will help to connect people, all right, but also connect them to the tools that might help them on that journey, right? That journey of change. Because, I'm working on one now is all about the stages of change, and we're not all ready for the action, right? We're not all ready to just take action on it. We sometimes just need to absorb that information, right? And we need more data, because so often we don't even know that a certain behavior or a certain thing that we're doing is a problem, right? Until those labs come back, or until that scan comes back, and then it's like, oh,
oops.
Maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here, at least, it provides that community. It provides some tools, right? And those tools will evolve, right? It'll evolve over time.
Absolutely.
Right? Something that we maybe have on there now, 2 years from now, is going to be like, a little antiquated, and we got some better stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
And we'll see what works.
Yeah.
And what works for me is not going to work for you, and we're just going to keep throwing stuff at you until you find what works for you as an individual.
Yeah.
But come to the community, talk to people, and see what we can do together to help each other. That's going to be the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Just starting out, though.
Right. And but everything starts somewhere. Everything. And then that grows to something else, like you said. But you have to start. And why not start it? Time is going to pass anyways. So you might as well start it now and just see how it goes.
Just run with it.
That's all we can do. But at least you're providing an amazing service for people to have a place to go to, And so you also have the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And that is a private Facebook group.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, and it's private just, so that it is a little bit more exclusive, but essentially, if you're listening to the podcast, you'll hear, just, all you have to do is request to join.
Mhm.
And if you're willing to, be part of the community and contribute, and, if you want to help in that journey, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can come hang out, you can just look at the content, you can interact if you want. But hopefully, as it builds and as we get, more and more interaction there and more of the tools available, it just can be a home base for a lot of people on this change
Right.
journey. Yeah.
Right. That's what I like about it, is that there's just so much information there. And the beauty of it is that it's not biased information. It's true information. So you're explaining, there's nothing like fad, diets, things like that. It's just real, honest information that people can come to, and that'll help them also weed through a lot of the stuff. That there is so much stuff out there that people don't really know, okay, is this real, or is this just another, massive post from an influencer to buy more product? What's the real deal? So knowing that they'll always talk to you and they'll always see a post from you, and then also they have the podcast, they have two sources of information. So if they can't really watch a video through the Facebook group or anything like that, they can just jump on the podcast, listen to an episode. And you can do that anywhere, which is the beauty of a podcast, because it's audio. While you're driving to work, on a road trip, taking a break, just to listen to something, you're tired of looking at a screen.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it too. So it's nice that you have those two platforms that people can kind of go back and forth with.
Yeah, and I hope that, it grows to be a tool that people can use, like that more and more. And you hit on something as well, like the whole diet culture thing, and, the next diet. And
the next best fad.
Is it low carb? Is it, low fat? Is it paleo? Is it keto, vegetarian, whatever, right? But it's about finding what works for you.
That's right.
Right.
And that's another thing also that you reminded me of something. There's, when people kind of yo-yo, they're like, oh, I was on it for 2 weeks, it didn't work. I was on this for 4 weeks, it didn't work. It's like, it's not that it didn't work, it's that you didn't give your body enough time to adjust to it, or that's not the correct way of eating for you specifically.
And clearly wasn't, right? If it's not something, that's sustainable, right? Or maybe it was too big of a leap at that point in time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe it was just too drastic of a change. Maybe that wasn't what your body needed or wanted at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to take some experimentation, right?
Yeah.
To know what works for you.
Yep.
So that's, again, small changes are huge. We like to rush in. We like to take that action. But when you're going from essentially the thinking about it to action stage, there's a lot of planning that goes in between there. Yeah. That often gets skipped, and that ends us back in the cycle of, it didn't work for me. Yeah. What's next?
And that's where the guidance comes in so important.
Right.
Finding a good coach, a good person that really cares, or a source of information that is going to be true information, that you can at least have an idea of, okay, where should I start then? What should I really focus on? And then take it from there. But at least you have some good beginning steps to do that.
Exactly. And hopefully, what I'm doing here with that Talk Health thing, the podcast, is hearing from peers. What is working for people?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, that may not work for you, but if you're hearing things that are resonating, that may give you an idea. Okay, well, I'm just going to try to bring my water bottle to work and see if that helps with increasing my water intake. Whatever it might be, just small steps.
Right.
And hearing it from people doing it.
Right.
It doesn't make it easy, but.
Right. But at least you got some steps, like you said. It is true. 3 or 4 type of steps, little things you can start with, small.
Yeah.
And those baby steps usually amount to the really overall goal at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And so I was gonna ask you, is from all this, what is your inspiration, for all this? What is it that really drives you to do this?
To do.
So because first you shifted from traditional to more functional.
Yeah.
So what is your motivation?
So the motivation in that transition, going from the conventional model to a more functional medicine approach, and functional medicine is really trying to look upstream, get to the reason why there's a dysfunction in the body in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And so that just excited me that you could sort of, I'm a big fan of Sherlock Holmes, right? Figure out the puzzle of,
Yeah.
what is going on here, using metrics like lab work to see, okay, well, this is the pattern that we're seeing, which means maybe we should try A, B, and C, and moving that forward. So it's the puzzle. I like the puzzle. Okay, so that's one aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's also finally being able to have a tool for people when they come in saying, I'm tired of taking medicine. I want a different way.
Yeah.
They're so used to hearing, you're going to be on this medication forever.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Having a different avenue. That was huge in that transition. And I, was early on, that was something that wasn't really clicking. So finally having an outlet to explore and looking at things like labs in a different lens, because they're the same labs I was interpreting, but now I can really get a little nuanced with it and say, okay, well, this is really telling us where we need to move, okay? And when we do that, it is likely that this will happen, right? If this is your goal, then this is essentially what we could possibly do to get there. Is that reasonable for you? Awesome. Okay, well, let's do it. So that was the shift into the functional medicine, right?
Yeah.
The problem that I've run into in the whole functional medicine field, though, and this was even with our experience as, my wife and I going through different clinics, because we went through several different functional medicine clinics on our journeys, right? It's expensive, man. Functional medicine can be expensive. The lab work, right? The evaluations, the supplements, the nutraceuticals, whatever it might be. And that's not accessible to the people that I want to help and provide value to. Right. It's not, I think of people that I know. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen.
It's not realistic for them.
It's not realistic. Yeah. And so that is what caused this other shift, right? To essentially trying to provide value free of cost that can help you as an individual on your journey, right? Hearing peers going through the same thing, making those steps, and hopefully, just moving forward. But I mean, I just think about, it's like, my parents, right? They're not going to be buying a going to a functional medicine clinic. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
They could probably, anybody, right, can benefit from that kind of care. But at this stage in time, there are a couple places where it's accessible, and they're, working with insurance, and they've found ways to do that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Clinic in Texas, clinic in Colorado. They're doing great things. James Maskell just started Heal Community, which is essentially providing a framework to places like community health centers or clinics.
Nice.
That is a functional medicine model of trying to, again, get to that upstream effect. But again, hopefully that can spread. This is my attempt to try and, break that barrier.
And that's just it. It's people that really want to see real change. They're all putting in their little nugget of what they can do. Like, those people in that functional medicine, they're able to do that. Now you're able to do this. I'm able to do this. Someone else is able to do this. Like, everybody coming together as a network and collaborating together, then you can offer an entire platter of help. Like you said, almost basically free of cost for people that truly need it, and just there's no way they can afford it.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it, that the reason why you do it is because you want to see real change. You want people to progress. You want people to live a healthier life. I remember this model that I'm pretty sure it was Dr. Hyman. If it wasn't, I'm sorry, but I think it was him, where there was a model that shows your age it started like at 10 to like 80, right? And then the top was your health, and it went down. So he's saying that's what we're used to. You know, as you age, you deteriorate, and you're done, you fall apart. It shouldn't be that way. It should be completely straight, and then your time is up. But just because you're getting older, sure, you'll have more limitations here and there, but depending on how you've been able to treat your body and help it heal itself, help it do what it's made to do and work better, that will determine how your longevity is for the most part. But the people that don't even understand how to even do that, they can't. So they do have that trend where they just fall off and they get worse as they get older. But having, again, the tool of people to help them and guide them, that could change a lot of those things for those people and for their generations, because obviously they would teach that to their kids, and hopefully, right? And hopefully their kids would also follow suit, and then you've completely changed an entire generation from that point on. But it's all just about getting out there, outreach, putting yourself out there, you know, getting in that uncomfortable set of things, but it's all for such a great, it is. I remember when I did my first podcast, it was with Melanie Macbeth in Charlotte. I will never forget it. I was so nervous. And this is a person I knew, but it's so different getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But like you said, who are we to not do that?
Right.
You know, it would be a disservice to not even at least try. You know, at least try. And if it doesn't work, yeah, it sucks. But you know what? You know you tried. Versus 10 years goes by and it's like, oh man, what if?
Yep.
You know, that to me that's the worst feeling ever. Is what if I would have done this? I can't live with that. So here we are.
Here we are. It's funny, yeah. That same thought comes to me too. Like, in 5 years, if I'm not doing something like this, then, you know, what's the point?
Right. Man.
Yeah.
It is, and that's why I truly believe whatever you believe in, universe, God, everything happens for a reason. You know, I coming here never thought I would meet more people with this similar mindset. I know obviously they're out there, but to actually be in the same exact office with a few of them, that's not coincidence. I don't think at all that's coincidence. So absolutely. So now to the fun stuff. What you're like, I'm done with this. What books are you reading right now that come to mind that you think would be helpful for people?
Okay, helpful for people.
Yeah, that are helpful for after that actually. Then I'll ask what have been helpful for you. So we'll start with, what books are you reading that you think would be helpful for somebody right now going through some type of struggle?
Yeah. So there's a few different, several different categories of books that, like, I'll recommend. I went through a phase where I just read any book about functional medicine or any functional medicine person out there that was writing a book. I was reading it, and the ones that I found most applicable or most helpful from the perspective of the person trying to make that change or on their journey. I love the simplicity, but it's very friendly language in Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. He's from the UK. His book, which I don't remember the name
the
of.
title.
He's got
That's
several
fine.
now. He's got several now, but Rangan Chatterjee, and maybe you can have a link or something, but his
absolutely. We'll
books
get it.
are phenomenal. They're straight to the point. They're practical. Another book that I just love that I thought was very applicable to everybody, it can get a little deep at times, was The End of Alzheimer's by Dr. Dale Bredesen, doing some fantastic work in the field of dementia and Alzheimer's, and in effect, like actually reversing up to moderate Alzheimer's, which is, unheard of, right? I mean, he went through a bunch of the struggle trying to fund his research because nobody would, do that sort of model. But anyways, it's coming out now. It's fantastic. So those are good. Mark Hyman's books are always just
Yeah.
phenomenal and very, again, user friendly too,
Yeah.
because they're targeted towards people trying to make that change. So that's and I think Dr. Chatterjee is like the Mark Hyman of the UK, but kind of some overlap with all them. So
Okay.
those are ones I would go to.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And what about for you?
For me, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm reading a book now that I'm really liking, but it's by Dr. Brene Brown, and Dare to Lead. That's the name of this one. She's got a lot of books, and the podcast is fantastic. She's just an awesome woman. But it's just very, very good stuff about how you can bring your whole self to whatever environment, your family, but in this case, it's more so the work environment, and how things like vulnerability, and actually getting to the root of what's going on, as opposed to brushing problems under the rug, right?
Yep.
Because that's what sort of burns the embers of burnout and all that stuff.
100%.
Doesn't create a good culture. So it's hard, but that's been very, very helpful. That's the one I'm currently reading now. Also, Hero on a Mission is another one from Donald Miller that just came out. It's pretty good. It took a second for me to get into it, but now it's rolling. I love all of his work, Donald Miller, as far as his podcast, Business Made Simple and Marketing Made Simple. Is more along the business side of stuff, but super insightful.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
We'll definitely put those links in there
Cool.
in the description, because those are probably very helpful for a lot.
And that's
For a
what
lot
I'm
of
not,
us.
not reading Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or any of that stuff. It's a different category.
Look, man, your dog's name is Gandalf, so it's good to have a balance, right?
Yeah, I always do. I always have something that's essentially medical in nature and something that's fun.
That's right.
Right, whether it's the Sherlock Holmes, the Lord of the Rings, or
Absolutely.
whatever.
Absolutely. You have to have that balance. Life is about balance.
Exactly.
You have to.
Exactly.
And speaking of balance, what do you like to do on your off days, your recovery days? Like, give us a little bit of insight on the life of Tom outside of all the serious stuff.
All the serious. Try to make it hopefully not too serious, but it is. It is. So on my off days, it depends, because you have if it's just a day, right? If it's just a lazy day, hanging out in the garden, going for, if it's super simple, just going for walks with the little dudes, but even just in the neighborhood. But mostly, if we can get out in nature, that's where we like to live. If we can get a long weekend or even more, we're taking the tents, or we're taking the camper, and we're gonna be out in that nature. We're gonna have the fire. We're just gonna be in it.
You're
Turn
speaking
off.
my language.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, just being outside. I don't care where. Outside with a little fire going.
Yeah.
That is life, man.
Yeah.
I love it. That's good. And you got a nice little garden out there.
Yeah.
You're just talking about,
that.
man.
Yeah.
You got some good stuff.
We are lucky. We are lucky, that's for sure.
It's awesome, man. So, what would you what message would you like to give out to someone that is listening right now that you think might really benefit from a nice ending message from Tom, the man, Everts?
That's right.
No pressure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, it comes down to, anybody that is, either listening to this or just going through change or looking to, move forward in their health journey or life or otherwise, just be kind to yourself, right? You're gonna do some things and they're gonna be awesome, but you're also gonna hit some speed bumps, and you may even take some U-turns, and that's all right.
Yeah.
We often beat ourselves up over that, like, oh God, if I just, if I could resist that, or if I could just wake up earlier and do this. But it's not, no one's perfect. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, man. It's so true. Like, it's always a saying, you can't fail, and I completely disagree with that. To me, failure And this is always a quote from Mythbusters: failure is always an option. Always. Because that's how you learn.
That's how you learn. Yep.
One way that didn't work, and you just try something different. But that's the best, man. Be kind to yourself.
That's
I have a
right.
little pin every day where it's be a kind human.
Hey,
So
I
be a
love it.
kind person to yourself.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Tom, man, this was a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Love
This
it,
was
love it.
awesome
Thank
out here in
you.
the campfire. I
Absolutely.
love that. I've been dying to do one out here in the campfire for a while, so I'm glad that we got to do it like this.
Absolutely.
And,
I appreciate it. Appreciate you
absolutely.
having me, man.
Anytime, brother. So anyone listening, thank you for being patient with me. Finally dropping another episode for all of us. And Tom, thank you so much. Like I said, check out his podcast. Oh, how can people reach out to you if they need to reach out to you through social media and your Facebook page? Just let them know what it is one more time.
Yeah. So you can, probably the easiest way right now is going to be just, if you're on Facebook, searching Talk Health Community. Getting on there, you can, you'll find me there, find my profile
Under
there.
groups.
Yeah, on the groups.
Okay.
Trying to think my Instagram stuff. Yeah, it's not really up and running. So probably
Okay.
the Facebook group is the best
All
way
right,
to go.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you'll
perfect.
find the podcast. You'll find all that stuff there.
Yeah, the Talk Health podcast.
Talk Health.
I love it. Real people, real change. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great
Luis.
night. And everyone else, thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode. Done. We're done, man.
Awesome. It was good.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's fun.
I try to make it.
That was perfect. Yeah, I'm excited to see. Yes, and no rush, man. You're welcome to hang out, but we did it and made it happen.
I'm excited.